I think I have a healthy obsession with sunflowers because I literally grow them everywhere. Everywhere where they're supposed to grow and everywhere where they're not supposed to grow. I grow them in the front of my house, the side of my house, and even the backyard in my garden. I have every year a lot of people stopping me on the street and telling me that they can't wait for all of my sunflowers to grow. Not only do I grow them to help me with my chronic depression, because things can suck in our life, but when I have sunflowers around all the time, I can't help but smile. But then again, I get to eat the sunflowers too. So it's a win-win situation. So in this video is a complete growing guide on how to growing sunflowers from seed to all the way to the end on when you get to collect seeds. We're going to talk about pest management, what kind of diseases hit sunflowers, and you know what? We're going to find out how many sunflowers do I really have already. Let's go. What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, house plants, and humor as a form of mental health therapy. And in this area alone, right by my tomatoes and peppers, I actually have 15 sunflowers that are growing right behind me. And I'm super excited because I love to grow them. And I really do, they really do put a smile on my face. Hello, Freddie. Freddie always has to make an appearance. He is my rooster, my resident rooster. There can be a variety of reasons as to why someone can grow some sunflowers. Yes, Freddie, I know you love sunflowers too because you eat them. You eat them every year. There are multiple reasons as to why you may want to grow sunflowers. If you have chickens, they make a great snack for them. You can give them the sunflower seeds by itself, or you can actually just give them the whole sunflower head. They will love that. But not only that, maybe you want to grow them just because they put a smile on your face. And that is a great thing for mental health because let me tell you, I need a lot of sunflowers, okay? If you can imagine how much depression can someone have, then you're gonna grow a lot of sunflowers. And that's exactly what I do. Right behind me, I have at least 15 sunflowers by itself in a little area. And that's just this one spot. When it comes to germinating the seeds, depending on what time of the year that you want to bring them outside is where you're going to be germinating them. For example, if you want sunflowers in the late spring, you're going to have to start germinating them indoors in little individual seed cells. But let's just say we're in the middle of the summertime, we're in late July, you can just direct sow into the ground, and that's not a problem at all. If you're starting the seeds outside direct sow, which means you're just putting that seed directly into the ground, then you can actually just do it directly in the ground with no fertilizer, no nothing. That's where the experimentation has come into play when I was talking about me growing sunflowers everywhere. Yeah, I literally grew them everywhere. So you can call this an experiment. Sunflowers can grow wherever you put them with no fertilizer, no nothing, but don't expect a lot from that sunflower. It will grow, but you're not going to get a lot, or you may not get a very tall one, or maybe you won't get a very healthy sunflower. So this is why we want to treat them with some fertilizer, some nutrients, and all that stuff. But anything other than that, I'm not even throwing some fertilizer granules in the ground yet. I'm not even doing that. A compost will be just a good quality compost, will be just good enough just to get it started. So once you have your sunflower popping up out of the ground, directly assuming you direct sowed, then that's really just kind of like just caring for it. If you did grow the sunflower seeds from one of those seed tray cells, those are even pretty good because that is when I use fertilizer granules. Now, of course, you're going to have, your composted ground in there. You're going to offer some compost in there. But this is the time where you can actually put some granular fertilizer because we're going to transfer or transplant that little seed tray or seed pod. You know what I mean? It's got the plant and it's got the dirt or soil in there. You're going to transplant that whole thing into the ground with some granulars on, some granular fertilizer on the bottom. Sometimes I haven't even done that either and the sunflower still grows. Okay, so this is why they say that sunflowers are pretty easy to grow. They're not really high maintenance plants, like let's just say corn. Corn's high maintenance. Also, another plant that's high maintenance, artichokes, watermelons, Freddie's high maintenance. You have the sunflower seeds. Those seeds are going to need a lot of water in order to crack open. So you have two options. One, you can pre-soak your sunflower seeds for at least 4 to 8 hours. Maybe if you do it more than 24 hours, I think that's no-go. How do I know that? Because I've done that. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. We're going to be putting it in our seed starter mix or directly in the ground, but we're just going to water a lot. Like a lot of water. Now, I think one of the myths was, when it comes to sunflowers, that the sunflowers' heads follow the sun. Now, that can be partially true because I have seen a lot of my sunflowers facing the sun as it is. But at the same time, I also have some sunflowers that don't face the sun. that just put their back to the sun, which makes absolutely no sense. So you can't really kind of count on the sunflower actually facing the sun. But the point is that sunflowers are called sunflowers for a reason. They love sun, and they will thrive and grow the best, to their capabilities are if they have a lot of sun. If you don't have a lot of sun, it's all good. You can still grow them. They just won't be as tall. Maybe they'll be a little more stringy. Maybe the flower head will be a lot smaller, but it's all good. You're still growing a sunflower. Some sunflowers are really short. Some of them can only get to like 5 feet. Then you have other ones that I love to grow the best that get up to like 14 feet. And I've had those before, and those are beautiful. So it depends on the variety that you're getting. When you're looking at a sunflower, the sunflower head, yes, it's one big sunflower. But if you look inside of here, there are tons and tons of other type of flowers, mini flowers inside that make up the center of the flower head. Another thing to think about when it comes to sunflowers and the type of varieties that you're trying to grow, if you're going to collect them for seed, then you have to be careful as to what variety. For example, I believe the Pro Cut sunflowers do not have any pollen. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comments below if you've ever grown some Pro Cuts and some regular ones, that the Pro Cut sunflowers don't have any pollen on them. I mean, eventually, after a while, you would want to, offer a liquid fertilizer. If you have some sort of nutrients in the ground already, then you don't really have to fertilize as much. But fertilizer, I mean, we need vitamins and nutrients just like the rest or the next person or the next plant. So I'm assuming that a little bit of fertilizer won't hurt the plant at all. Another thing you're going to notice about the sunflower is that if you do not plant them deep in the ground when they first start germinating, or if you don't hill them up, they have a tendency of leaning over because they get top heavy because of the sunflower head. Now, if they're properly anchored in the ground, you don't have to worry about any of them of like toppling over. But hey, I've done that. A lot of my sunflowers have toppled over, just like the corn, because they weren't dug or like planted deeper in the ground. So just keep that in mind when you have a really good or top heavy sunflower like the mammoth sunflower. That flower heads get really big and they get top heavy, and they could just kind of snap over your plants. So make sure that they're properly put in the ground with some, like deep roots in there. You really want to get it anchored in there. So if you start noticing that your plants are leaning, hill them up, gather and put a lot of dirt on the bottom of the base of them to straighten them out. You may even want to stake them up. If that's a precious sunflower to you and you want to save it, that's also an option. We're in another part of my garden, and you can see the other row of sunflowers that I have back there. I have at least, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I really could have sown some more sunflowers. So that's actually what we're going to do too. I want to grow them. And that brings me to another point, is that you can actually grow sunflowers more than one time throughout the season. If you started growing your sunflowers in springtime, started those seeds, you can actually start another batch right now. I mean, the sunflower will come up a little, a little shorter. Maybe the sun heads won't get that big, but it's okay because you're still going to get a sunflower. You can definitely start growing them from April, May, June, and July. August, I think that's a little too late, depending. Maybe on if you're like in down south, then you'll have a little more time. But if you're up north, I'm in 6B border, 6AB border, then, I think the cutoff month would be the July. So another thing that you're going to have to start thinking about when it comes to sunflowers is pests and diseases. Now, if there's one thing I've encountered is a lot of pests and diseases on all of my plants, because why can't I just have a lovely garden void of pests and disease? But I guess that's just that's just not how life works. Life is unfair. And bugs are unfair, but we have to tackle them. So we're going to be figuring out how to beat these bugs. You got aphids, you got cutworms, you got beetles, you have weevils, you got moths. Basically, there are a lot of stinking bugs that love the sunflower plant in itself. So you are going to come across a lot of pests in your sunflowers. I'm going to sacrifice one of these right here, and I'm going to show you. Woo! Oh my God, right there. Ants. Did I mention ants? Ants. Son of a bitch, I didn't see that coming. Now, I have yet to figure out if ants are a friend or foe on them, but I see them a lot on your sunflower. So I would be very observant. I would really be paying attention, mindfulness, self-aware, or aware of our environment. I think that's a sensory thing. Anyone know any MBTI? Either way, we're going to be looking and observing our plants because you don't know what kind of bugs you're going to see. We're going to look at the front of the leaf, but also turn it around and look at the back of the leaf, because some bugs show up in the front and some bugs show up in the back. Ideally, you would want to spray this with some sort of pesticide, organic preferably, that would be nice. And that would work on a lot of your plants, and you have to spray them like religiously. Okay, you can't just spray them one time and then just set it and forget it. It's not how it works. So every few days till maybe like once a week or something. No, maybe not once a week. If you got an infestation, you ain't gonna do it once a week because it ain't gonna work. So I'm thinking at least 2 to 3 times a week, you're gonna be spraying your plants with some sort of pesticide. Now, I have a pesticide solution for that. I'm using Adhd, but that's for another story and another video. There are many diseases that can affect your sunflower plants. I mean, you can get attacked with rust. That sucks. Also, you can get hit with powdery mildew. That one's treatable. That one's not too bad. You can actually get powdery mildew if you're in a high humidity climate. I mean, I don't really get hit with that much. But if there's one thing that I really get hit with, it's the sunflower fungal blight, because as if I don't have any other fungal infection issues on my other vegetable plants, why not here on my sunflowers? The type of fungal infection that hits this one, I believe, is called Alternaria fungus. Something like that. It's a fungal infection. You're gonna see these round brown fungus. It's like if you have had the blight before on your tomatoes, then it basically looks the same way. No lie, because it's a fungus and it's gonna act the same way. So that means that there's gonna be fungal spores all up in the plants as well. So we gotta have to treat that. So that's the main problem, main disease that I come across. You may come across any of the other varieties of diseases that may attack your sunflowers, but for me specifically, I only get hit with that stupid fungus thing. And what happens is, it just like the blight, it starts from the bottom of the sunflower and it works its way up, and then it will destroy your entire plant. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna be pruning. We're gonna be taking off all the crappy leaves. We're gonna be letting airflow go in. And we want to remove all the leaves, especially from the bottom, to remember spores, fungus. So if the fungus is in the ground, and if there's any rain or anything like that, it will splash up onto the leaves. So if we remove a lot of these bottom leaves, then we're really not going to have a problem. Well, too much of a problem, that is. If you see a wilting sunflower, it can mean one of 3 reasons. 1, it needs water. So if your sunflower has not got enough water, or you're relying on rain and there hasn't been no rain, it's a water issue. Another reason is because it could be from a bug. Now, depending on the type of bug that's attacking your sunflower, that could be a possible problem, because a lot of these things chew and love to suck on the nutrients of the leaves. So that's where you're gonna get wilting. A third problem is the fungus infection that I can't get rid of at all in my stupid garden, is that they'll start to wilt the leaves too. So, process of elimination. You go through one thing at a time. If it's not a bug, move on to the next thing. If it's not a disease, maybe it's a watering issue. This is gonna take a lot more time, but you notice when you rub against here, that flower head of the mini flower head comes off, and then you have the seeds right underneath it. Look, I'm sacrificing a sunflower for you guys, see? Hope you're happy. Like that. Hey, sunflower seeds right below it. Right underneath it, I should say. After about a week or 2, your sunflowers will start to die off. First thing to go are the petals. The petals will start to shrivel up, shrink, and then just basically die. This is what it looks like when it's just about almost done. After the petals have completely died off, they'll just basically kind of fall off, and then you'll just be stuck with the head like this. Now, ideally, this would take some time for it to dry. It has to be dried completely before you decide to even think about, addressing the seeds inside of it. But if you were going to eventually harvest 4 seed, you would just take off, this flower head. You can leave this flower head on the stalk and let it dry up that way, but then you'd be contending with birds and squirrels. And let me tell you, the birds and squirrels will always win. Ideally, I would wait a little while longer before I decided to chop it off, and then finish drying somewhere else, because mold has happened to me. So if you don't have proper ventilation, or maybe you're in a humid environment, your sunflower may develop some mold. So that would not be a good look. I would ideally just kind of wait until it dries up some more. But if you can't, because you got squirrels and birds messing with your stuff, make sure that you have proper ventilation when you're drying it out. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information out of it. Let me know down in the comments below. Do you grow sunflowers every year? If you do grow sunflowers, what varieties do you grow? I love them. And also, does it help your mental health too? If you did enjoy this video and you want to show me some love, then don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel about it. You know how it is. Like, subscribe, yada, yada. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I got a PayPal, so if you want to donate to this channel, link down in the description below. And until the next episode, you guys, where you and me both are going to be growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. I'll check y'all later in the next episode. Peace and love.